The champagne flute slipped from my trembling fingers as Quinn's voice cut through the applause at the Hilton Miami Beach ballroom. Some people are just dumb, only fit for factory work. The crystal shattered against the marble floor, sending sharp fragments across my black heels as 80 guests erupted in laughter. My vision tunneled to a single point. Quinn's satisfied smirk as he accepted the silver tray from our parents, containing management rights to an $85 million Hawaii resort and keys to a brand new Audi. The metallic taste of humiliation flooded my mouth as Dad's voice boomed over the speakers. "We're proud of you, son, unlike certain others who only embarrass the family." The chandeliers overhead seemed to dim as every eye in the room found me. The factory worker sister in her Target dress, surrounded by Miami's elite in their $1,000 gowns. "My name is Victoria. I'm 34, and I'm a safety inspector who learned that saving lives means nothing if your family can't see past your work clothes." This is the story of how I made them finally recognize what real value looks like. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., I leave this world of judgment behind and lace up steel-toed boots, driving my dented Honda Civic through Miami's industrial district to the chemical processing facility in Hialeah. The commute gives me 45 minutes to prepare for 10 hours of monitoring conveyor belts, checking safety protocols, and ensuring that families get their loved ones home safe. My station overlooks the main production floor, where hundreds of circuit boards pass through quality control each shift. Miss a defective batch, and $45,000 in product gets recalled. Miss a safety violation, and people die. Meanwhile, across town in his Brickell penthouse office, Quinn rolls in around 9 a.m., coffee in hand, reviewing investment portfolios from his floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. His assistant parks his car. His concierge handles his dry cleaning, his $300,000 salary plus bonuses fund, rooftop meetings where he poses for Instagram photos captioned, "Closing deals, changing lives." Our parents flood the family group chat with screenshots of his magazine features. "Fintech disruptor revolutionizing investment strategy." Meanwhile, my name hasn't appeared in their messages for months. They tag him in every post with heart and fire emojis, celebrating his success while treating my work like an embarrassing family secret. Last year, during the night shift, the methane alarm screamed through the facility. A cracked pipe near the loading dock was releasing gas fast enough to turn the entire building into a bomb. While most workers froze, I ran toward the emergency shutoff valve, my hands shaking as I gripped the heavy metal wheel and held it closed until the pressure gauge dropped to 0. 47 co-workers walked out alive that night because I didn't hesitate. The thank you letters arrived for weeks afterward, handwritten notes from people whose names I barely knew, photos of their children, small gifts like homemade cookies. One man wrote, "You gave me another Christmas with my daughter." Another said, "I owe you my life." I kept every letter in a shoebox under my bed, never mentioning them at home. What was the point? They'd dismiss it as just doing your job. My Aunt Donna from Tampa found out anyway. She's an ER nurse who works double shifts and still calls every Sunday. "You did the right thing, Victoria," she said, her voice steady as always. "Don't let them make you feel small for it." She sent me a care package once, protein bars, bandages, and a note that read, "For the hero who won't admit it." I used the bars during overtime shifts and never told Mom or Dad. The invitation arrived on thick ivory paper with the family crest embossed in gold, celebrating Quinn's promotion to CEO, family presence required. I stared at it for an hour, knowing they wanted me there as the cautionary tale, the reminder of what happens when you don't live up to Nash family expectations. Still, I marked the date on my calendar. A week before the party, my phone buzzed with Quinn's name. The message was short. "Don't come to the party, it's embarrassing." I screenshot the text and forwarded it to Donna without comment. "Go anyway," she texted back immediately, "and hold your head high." The Hilton Miami Beach ballroom hummed with conversation and clinking glasses as Miami's business elite mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. Waiters circled with champagne flutes while I slipped through a side entrance in my work slacks and blouse, ignoring the stares. Donna had driven up from Tampa and waved me over to her table near the back wall, wearing a simple navy dress and her wedding ring. Quinn strode onto the stage like he owned the room, microphone in hand, flashing his practiced smile. Success takes vision, he began, eyes scanning the crowd until they landed directly on me. Not everyone has it. Some people are just dumb, only fit for factory work. The champagne flute slipped from my fingers as laughter rippled through the guests. Crystal shards scattered across the marble, mixing with drops of Dom Perignon that caught the light like tiny diamonds. Donna reached under the table and gripped my knee, her hand steady and warm. Dad joined Quinn on stage, arm around his shoulders, while Mom followed with a velvet jewelry box and thick manila folder. She spread glossy photos across the podium, an oceanfront resort with private villas and infinity pools stretching toward the Pacific horizon. To celebrate your new role as CEO, Dad announced, his voice booming through the sound system, we're transferring management of the $85 million Hawaii resort to you. The crowd erupted in applause. Mom dangled the Audi keys from her finger, letting them catch the chandelier light. And this beauty is yours to drive it all in style. Quinn took the keys like a trophy, grinning wide, while Mom leaned into the microphone. We're so proud of you, son, unlike certain others who only embarrass the family. More applause, louder this time, mixed with whispers from nearby tables. A woman in pearls murmured to her husband, "That's the sister, right? The one who fixes machines?" He chuckled in response. Dad pulled a single sheet from his jacket, a pre-printed form with the family estate office letterhead. "Victoria, come up here," he called, motioning toward me. "Sign this waiver of inheritance rights. Make everything official for your brother." The room quieted as conversations died mid-sentence. I stood slowly, my legs heavy, and walked the aisle between tables as guests parted like I was contaminated. The carpet muffled my footsteps, but my heartbeat thundered in my ears. On stage, Dad thrust the paper forward. The waiver demanded I relinquish any claim to family assets until final probate, effectively handing control to Quinn immediately. Quinn smirked beside him, arms crossed, while Mom adjusted her necklace and looked anywhere but at me. The pen felt cold and heavy in my hand as I gripped it, knuckles white. The signature line stared back, blank and accusing, while guests leaned forward in their seats. A phone camera flashed from the front row. The tip of the pen touched paper, and a bead of ink bled out, smearing across my thumb. That's when the side door behind the stage creaked open, drawing every eye in the ballroom. Gerald Stone, a 72-year-old man in a charcoal suit with a loosened tie, stepped into the ballroom carrying an old leather briefcase. He had received Donna's call that morning after she spotted the party announcement in the Miami Herald Society pages. Heads turned slowly as recognition flickered across faces in the crowd. He moved with quiet authority, ignoring the murmurs, and stopped at the edge of the stage. Dad's jaw tightened. Mom's hand flew to her pearls. Quinn shifted his weight, the Audi keys suddenly feeling less like a trophy. Gerald cleared his throat once, a sharp sound that silenced the room without shouting. "Excuse the interruption," he said, voice steady but carrying to every corner. "I'm Gerald Stone, former attorney for Eleanor Nash." He placed the briefcase on a nearby table and clicked it open with deliberate snaps. Phones that had been raised to record my humiliation now lowered uncertainly. Donna's grip on my arm loosened as she stared, mouth slightly open. Gerald pulled out a thick folder stamped with a notary seal dated exactly 10 years ago. "Mrs. Nash had this will notarized in my office the week before her final hospital stay," he explained, holding the document high enough for the front rows to see the embossed seal. The original was delivered to the family after her passing, as required. He paused, eyes locking on Dad. But it was destroyed shortly after the funeral, burned in the backyard fireplace according to 2 household staff who signed affidavits. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a physical wave. Dad's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle twitch. Mom whispered something urgent to Quinn, who shook his head violently. Gerald lifted a tablet from the briefcase and tapped the screen. A video began playing on the large backdrop behind the podium where Quinn's promotion banner still hung. Grandma Eleanor appeared, seated in her favorite armchair by the window, frail but sharp-eyed, a quilt across her lap. "If you're watching this," she said, her voice clear despite age and illness, "it means I'm gone and someone's trying to twist my wishes. Victoria has saved lives, real lives, not just numbers on a screen. She gets everything, no conditions, no delays." The clip ended. The room froze in stunned silence. Donna shot to her feet beside me. "Stop this!" she shouted, pointing directly at Dad. "That's Mom's real will. You can't pretend it doesn't exist." Security near the main entrance hesitated, looking to Dad for direction, but he was too busy staring at Gerald with his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Gerald raised a hand to calm Donna, then turned back to the crowd with the folder open. He held up the document for all to see. Pages of legal text, signatures in blue ink, dates stamped in red. This certified copy, filed with the court the same day as the original, transfers the entire $65 million estate to Victoria Nash, he announced, his voice ringing clear. Explicitly because she saved 47 lives in that factory incident last year. No interim management, no waivers. Final and binding. Quinn lunged forward. "This is fake!" He yelled, his face red. Dad grabbed his arm, yanking him back. Mom's face drained of color as she clutched the podium edge to steady herself. Gerald continued reading clauses aloud. Asset lists, trust funds, offshore accounts. The coercion penalty if anyone forced a signature under duress. Each word landed like a hammer on glass. I stood frozen on stage, pen still hovering over the waiver, water sloshing in my trembling glass. The document on the podium looked ridiculous now, a prop in a play that had completely changed scripts. Gerald locked eyes with me across the lights. "Eleanor knew what you did, Victoria. She saw the OSHA reports, the letters from those workers. This is yours. Always was." Gerald didn't wait for silence to settle. He snapped the briefcase open wider and pulled out a 3-inch thick stack of documents bound with red cord, dropping it with a heavy thud that cut through the stunned murmurs. "Let's talk evidence," he said, his voice calm but carrying authority. The top page was the official OSHA incident report. 8 pages of diagrams, witness statements, and my name circled in red marker. This confirms the methane leak Victoria stopped by manually closing the valve under pressure, Gerald explained, holding it up for the front rows to see the official seal. He flipped to the next section. 47 handwritten thank you letters from the workers I'd saved, dated signatures, even photos of their families. He fanned them across the surface in plastic sleeves, all notarized copies for the court. Gerald slid over bank records next, crisp printouts with highlighted lines showing $2 million funneled anonymously into factory safety upgrades, new ventilation systems, advanced sensors, mandatory training programs for 3 shifts. The transfers originated from a donor-advised fund linked to me through tax filings I'd never claimed credit for publicly. Finally, he lifted a framed plaque from the case. National Workplace Safety Award, presented to Victoria Nash last April in Washington, D.C. for exemplary courage in crisis by the U.S. Department of Labor. The gold lettering gleamed under the chandeliers. Gerald turned to a slimmer folder labeled Quinn Nash in bold black marker. He laid out 3 glossy printouts of LinkedIn posts. Quinn in black tie at charity galas, posing with oversized checks made out to children's hospitals and disaster relief. He was the paid keynote speaker at each event, Gerald said, his voice flat. $50,000 total wired directly to his personal account within 48 hours. Attached invoices showed the charities received $0 after administrative fees and travel reimbursements. One email chain revealed Quinn negotiating higher speaking rates while promising donors the money would change lives in his pitch deck. Donna rose again, pulling a folded paper from her purse with steady hands. 2 years ago, Victoria borrowed $5,000 from me, she announced, unfolding an IOU handwritten on plain notebook paper, dated, with my signature at the bottom and a column of $50 repayments checked off weekly in blue ink. Cash, no bank transfer. For 20 industrial fire extinguishers the factory budget wouldn't cover after a cost-cutting meeting. She held it high. She paid every cent from her paycheck, never missed one, even when overtime was canceled. Dad's face went purple, veins bulging at his temples. Mom clutched her throat, pearls digging into her skin. Quinn's fists clenched at his sides, knuckles white. Guests shifted in their seats, some filming openly now, others whispering about board meetings and potential lawsuits. A venture capitalist in the front row stood and asked loudly, "Does the board know about these discrepancies?" His partner nodded, already typing on a tablet. Gerald stacked the documents back into neat piles, each labeled and tabbed. Every piece here is filed with the probate court, he continued. The coercion clause activates immediately upon attempted signature under duress, which we just witnessed. He gestured toward the waiver, still on the podium, ink smear and all. Quinn exploded forward, his voice cracking. She's just a factory worker. She doesn't deserve it. The main ballroom doors burst open again as Marcus Pike, the company's chief financial officer, rushed in with his face ashen, tablet clutched to his chest. His assistant had been monitoring the emergency board meeting remotely and called him the moment the coercion clause triggered. He beelined for the stage, nearly tripping over a chair leg. Emergency board vote just passed, he panted, swiping the screen with trembling fingers. Coercion clause triggered. $18 million contingency fund transfers to Victoria Nash, effective immediately. The projector flashed the wire confirmation. Account numbers in bold, timestamps in green, digital signatures from 3 independent trustees. Dad lunged for the tablet with both hands. "You can't do this." Marcus yanked it back. "Assets frozen across all subsidiaries," he continued, his voice rising over the growing chaos. "Independent forensic audit starts at dawn. No access until cleared." Quinn's promotion banner flickered off the backdrop, replaced by a red, account suspended banner from the bank portal in real time. Hawaii Resort Management contract revoked. Audi title repossessed. Repo trucks are outside the valet area right now. Quinn screamed incoherently, charging at Marcus like a bull. Security tackled him mid-stride, 2 guards pinning his arms behind his back, while a third radioed for backup. "Fraudulent expense claims totaling over $200,000. Marcus read from the tablet, scrolling fast. Board voted unanimous termination for cause. No severance, no non-compete payout. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing into her hands so hard her shoulders shook. Dad stood frozen, mouth opening and closing, eyes darting between the screen and his son on the floor. Donna wrapped her arms around me tight, pulling me close enough that I could smell her lavender perfume. I let the pen drop from my fingers, watching it roll across the podium and leave one final ink splatter on the worthless waiver. "I don't need this family anymore," I said, my voice steady for the first time all night. "We're done." Gerald quietly packed his briefcase while security escorted Quinn from the building, then slipped out through the same side door with a satisfied nod in my direction. 3 months had passed since that night at the Hilton, and I now stood before the new safety training center in Orlando. The sign read Nash Safety Foundation in bold steel letters above wide glass doors that slid open automatically. Inside, instructors had certified 1,500 factory workers that week alone. Hands-on drills with fire extinguishers, hazard simulations using virtual reality headsets, emergency protocols practiced in mock assembly lines. My team ran the program, funded entirely by the contingency payout. No press conferences, no ribbon cuttings, just results. Factories from Miami to Tampa sent crews in rotating shifts. Accident rates dropped 28% in the first quarter, according to state reports. I bought a 2-bedroom condo in Coral Gables on a quiet street lined with royal poinciana trees, a mango tree in the courtyard, ocean view from the second-floor balcony. Mornings started with black coffee on the patio while reading industry journals. Evenings with long walks along the bay where sailboats drifted under pink skies. The factory job stayed behind. I consulted remotely for safety upgrades nationwide, traveling only when facilities needed my expertise in person. Quinn stocked shelves at a warehouse in Doral for $15 an hour. No benefits, early shifts starting at 5 a.m. He scanned barcodes with a handheld device, loaded trucks with pallets of electronics, avoided eye contact with former colleagues who whispered about the Gala scandal whenever he passed. Walt and Gail rented a 1-bedroom apartment in Kendall. Beige walls, cracked tile in the kitchen, community pool that smelled of chlorine. They sold the Brickell penthouse to cover mounting legal fees. The Hawaii resort went to creditors after the bank seized control. No more boardrooms, no more galas, no more private jets. Donna drove up every Sunday from Tampa in her old Honda Accord. We cooked pasta with fresh basil from my balcony planter, watched old movies on the 65-inch screen, talked about everything except the past, no calls from the others, no texts, no accidental run-ins at grocery stores. Silence became the new normal, and I welcomed it. I leaned on the balcony rail at sunset, waves crashing below against the seawall. Money can't buy conscience, but it can finally make people see what they refuse to recognize. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.